Is high sugar type 2D really not restorable? Does this mighty and decades-old misbelief put them on the vicious cycle of foods, meds and injections? According to science, we are going to debunk this biggest and oldest misbelief around type 2D. This will equip them to see from inside to make an educated decision for their well-being. Hi, my name is Ellie. I am a senior assistant at work with Mo.com and Type 2D educator. Our co-founder Mohammed Khan. He is also a Type 2D conqueror and chief educator. We have helped over 5,000 Type 2D individuals collectively, to live life without being dependent on meds and injections. Without further ado, let's get started. Type 2D is not restorable, which is not true. It is because of Type 2D individuals being served under the wrong approach. They focus on lowering the glucose from the blood only, instead of focusing the resistance factor, which is considered the underlying cause of Type 2D. The current education system thinks that Type 2D individuals do not produce digestive chemicals. So they need to be injected externally, which is wrong. Because Type 2D individuals' pancreas secretes digestive chemicals, but that cannot work due to some food and lifestyle reasons. The cells become numb to the digestive chemical due to the overflow of it for a long time. But, Type 1D individuals' pancreas does not secrete the digestive chemical at all, so they need to be injected with digestive chemicals externally through injection. Which makes sense. A fundamentally wrong approach towards Type 2D. People are getting sicker than getting well, according to the American College of Physicians, new 2018 Guidance Statement No. 1 and the famous Accord trial. If Type 2D is really not restorable, then how come people who undergo bariatric surgeries, and restore normal sugar levels without meds and injections? In bariatric surgery, surgeons change the stomach and digestive system's anatomy, to improve energy balance and fat metabolism. But due to progressive abdominal discomfort due to leaks within the first few weeks after surgery, these types of leaks require emergency admission to the hospital. In some cases, urgent surgery is needed. Therefore people do not like it, apart from the most expensive surgery in this class. Another surgery called gastric banding. This surgery involves placing an adjustable silicone gastric band around the stomach's upper part, to decrease stomach size and decrease food intake to improve energy balance and fat metabolism. The band creates a small stomach pouch above it, with the rest of the stomach below. The procedure constricts the stomach so that a person feels full after eating less food than usual. Maladaptive eating behavior is a common cause of abdominal discomfort in the early post-operative period. Gastric bypass alters satiety, and a person may not perceive fullness until pouch distension to the point of discomfort. Therefore people do not like it too. Now, instead of surgeries, some people choose to use certain pills to achieve the same results, despite their side effects. Pill acebose. This pill works by slowing the action of certain chemicals that break down food to release glucose. The most commonly used pill works by decreasing the amount of sugar the liver releases into the blood, to prevent the blood's sugar levels from rising. But there are many side effects of this pill: allergic reaction, severe itching, severe stomach discomfort, severe constipation, watery or bloody diarrhea, etc. That's why people do not use this pill. Another pill called SGLT2 protein inhibitor. SGLT means sodium glucose cotransporter protein. There are two proteins, sodium glucose cotransporter No. 1 protein, and sodium glucose cotransporter No. 2 protein. We will learn about the SGLT2 protein here. So, the SGLT2 protein function is to reabsorb the glucose from the kidney and back into the bloodstream. This SGLT2 protein inhibitor works by preventing the SGLT2 protein from reabsorbing glucose from the kidney. It blocks these proteins, which means less glucose gets reabsorbed back into the blood, and more gets passed out of the system via the urine. Thus, decreasing blood glucose helps better manage the resistance using this pill. But there are also many side effects of this pill: genital yeast infection in men and women, urinary tract infection, increased urination, kidney problems, and constipation. That's why people do not use this pill, either. Fasting protocol. Fasting, which is the natural alternative of surgeries and pills mentioned above, also promotes blood glucose control by better managing the resistance. Hence, people with type 2D feel better than the above four methods, if they continue the process with the right types of meals and the right amount. If bariatric surgery, gastric banding, pill acebos, and SGLT2 protein inhibitor, and fasting protocol can master type 2D, then where did the idea come from that type 2D is not restorable? The current protocol focuses only on lowering blood glucose from the blood using meds or injections, instead of focusing on its cause, which is digestive chemical resistance. Suppose they have a fever due to a virus or a bacterial infection, instead of using an antibody, if they take a pill over the counter just to control the fever, their fever may have become lower in terms of temperature, and they may feel better for the short term, but their infection is becoming worse as time goes by. The same things are happening with type 2D people. Our current protocol is only targeting to lower the glucose from the blood by meds or injection. For the time being, maybe the glucose level from the blood gets lower, but the real problem, digestive chemical resistance, becomes worse as time goes by. Then more and more meds or injection are needed to lower the same glucose level, and the person's condition and resistance become even worse, according to the new 2018 American College of Physicians Guidance Statement No. 1 and the famous Accord trial. Giving more alcohol to an alcoholic or giving more pills to a pills abuser is the last thing someone will do, if they do care for that person or if they're a real well-wisher. Due to this fundamental shift in approaching type 2D, people are not getting well, even after 10, 20, or 30 years of taking meds or injection. Imagine their physique as a big sugar container. At birth, the container is empty. Over 3 to 4 decades, the container gradually fills up due to eating sugar and refined carbohydrates. After eating the next meal, sugar comes in and spills over the container because it is already full. The same situation exists in the system. After eating sugar and high carbohydrate meals, the system releases the digestive chemical to help move the sugar into the cells, where it is used for energy. If type 2D individuals don't burn off that sugar sufficiently, then over 3 to 4 decades, the system's cells become completely filled and cannot handle any more. After eating the next meal, the digestive chemical cannot force it into the overflowing cells, so it spills out into the blood. Sugar travels in the blood in a form called glucose, and having too much of it, known as high blood glucose, is a primary sign of type 2D. When there is too much glucose in the blood, there is too much digestive chemical that follows. After a specific time, the cells become numb to this excess digestive chemical. Then the digestive chemical fails to do its usual job of moving the sugar into the cells. Then our current education system says that the person has become digestive chemical resistant. But it is not truly the digestive chemical's fault. It is the over-digestive chemical that causes this resistance. The primary problem is that the cells are overflowing with glucose. High blood glucose is only part of the issue. There is too much glucose in the blood. But there is also too much glucose in all of the cells of the system. High sugar type 2D is simply an overflow situation when there is too much glucose in the whole system. In response to excess glucose in the blood, the system releases even more digestive chemicals to overcome this resistance. This excess digestive chemical forces more glucose into the overflowing cells to keep the blood levels normal. This works, but the effect is only temporary because it has not addressed the problem of incoming excess sugar. It has only moved the excess sugar from the blood to the cells, making the digestive chemical resistance even worse. At some point, even with more digestive chemicals, it cannot force any more glucose into the cells. Think about packing a piece of luggage. At first, the clothes go into the empty luggage without any trouble. Once the luggage is full, however, it becomes difficult to jam in those last 2 t-shirts. A person could reach a point where they can't close the luggage. They could say the luggage appears to be resisting the close. This is similar to the overflow situation we see in our cells. Once that luggage is full, they might use more force to shove those last t-shirts. This strategy will only work temporarily, because they have not addressed the underlying problem of overfilled luggage. As they force more t-shirts into the luggage, the problem only becomes worse. The better solution is to remove some of the clothes from the luggage. What happens in the system if type 2D individuals do not remove the excess glucose? First, the system keeps increasing the amount of digestive chemicals to force more glucose into the cells. And over time, the cells become numb to this excess digestive chemical. Then the system creates even more digestive chemicals to push the excess glucose into the cells. Then it becomes a vicious cycle. When the digestive chemical levels can no longer keep pace with rising resistance, blood glucose spikes. That's when their physician is likely to diagnose them as full-blown type 2D. Their physicians may prescribe injections or a commonly used pill to lower blood glucose, but they do not eliminate the excess glucose from cells of the whole system. Instead, they continue to take the glucose out of the blood and cram it back into the system's different organs, such as the kidneys, the nerves, the eyes, and the heart, where it can eventually create additional problems. Because the underlying problem is still unchanged. Remember the container that was overflowing with sugar? It is still overflowing. Digestive chemical just has moved the glucose from the blood, where they can see, on the glucometer readings, into the system, where they cannot see, due to lack of any meters that can read. The next time they eat, sugar spills out into the blood again, and the digestive chemicals cram it into the system and into the system's organs. Whether they think of it as like a piece of overstuffed luggage or an overflowing container, it's the same situation all over again. The more glucose they force their system, the more digestive chemical needs to overcome its resistance. But this only creates more resistance as the cells become more and more expanded. Once they've exceeded what their system can produce naturally, meds can take over. At first, they need only a single med, but eventually, it becomes 2 and then 3, and the doses become larger. And here's the thing, if they are taking more and more meds to keep their blood glucose at the same level, their type 2D is getting worse. The blood glucose got better with meds or injections on the glucometer readings, but the type 2D got worse in the whole system. The meds only hit the blood glucose by cramming it into the system's cells, which are already bloated. The type 2D looks better in terms of blood glucose level in the glucometer, but it is actually worse in the whole system. Physicians may congratulate themselves on the illusion of a job well done, even the type 2D individuals get sicker. Research shows that no meds or sugar-lowering injection can help prevent or avoid heart issues, congestive heart failure, strokes, kidney failure, amputations, and blindness, resulting in type 2D getting worse. Then they say, oh, type 2D is not restorable. But it was not. Here's another example. Consider that hiding garbage under their bed instead of throwing it out, allows them to pretend that their kitchen is clean. When there's no more room under the bed, they can throw the garbage under the rug. Then in the basement, in the closet, even in the bathroom. But if they keep hiding their garbage, eventually it's going to smell bad because it's starting to rot. Instead of hiding it, they need to throw it out. If the solution to their overflowing luggage and their overflowing house with garbage seems obvious, in that case, the solution of too much glucose, which leads to too much digestive chemicals, should also be similar: get rid of it. But the standard approach for type 2D follows the same wrong logic of hiding the glucose instead of getting rid of it. If we understand that too much glucose in the blood is toxic, why can't we understand that too much glucose in the system is also toxic? What happens when excessive glucose piles up in the system over 10, 20, or 30 years? Every cell in the system starts to rot, which is why type 2D affects every organ of the system. Their eyes rot, and they go blind. Their kidneys rot, and they need dialysis. Their hearts rot, and they get heart attacks or strokes. Their brains rot, and they get brain issues. Their liver rot, and they get fatty liver and liver issues. Their legs rot, and they get type 2D foot ulcers and eventually amputation. Their nerves rot, and they get type 2D neuropathy. No part of their system is free from being spoiled. That's why the scientific community named Type 2D is the mother of all disorders. Standard meds or sugar-lowering injections do not help to prevent or avoid the progression of organ failure, because they do not help eliminate the toxic sugar load from the whole system. More than 7 multinational, multi-center, randomized, placebo-controlled trials have proved that standard meds that lower blood glucose does not help prevent or avoid heart issues, the major problem of Type 2D people. According to a famous Canadian nephrologist, Dr. Jason Fung, we have pretended that these glucose-lowering meds and injections make Type 2D people healthier, but it's been a lie. We have overlooked a singular truth that they can't use meds or injections to restore any food-related issue. And the famous British Dr. Werner Wheelock said, "If I had a flood in my house, I would not spend day after day, week after week, or year after year buying buckets, mops, and towels. I would not be inventing different types of buckets and more expensive mops or drainage systems to ensure the water drained away quickly. Instead, I would find the source of the water and turn it off." By saying so, Dr. Werner means, not to keep trying with the different types of meds, glucometers, or install another sugar reading device to manage and monitor excess sugar levels. Instead, just stop the sugar source by changing the meals. Moreover, it is worth mentioning the eye-opening presentation by Dr. Sarah Hallberg at a TEDx event in 2015 at Purdue University, Indiana, United States, which accounted for over 6 million views on YouTube and is still growing. Where she said, restoring Type 2D starts with ignoring the current old guidelines. Most people have experienced that Type 2D is restorable with the right types of food and the right amount. And this education is being hidden from people with Type 2D for some apparent reason. The longer they hold this misbelief, the longer they will be in discomfort. The longer they keep Type 2D under maintenance, the more maintenance cost will be as time goes by. And their well-being deteriorates as time goes by. And at the end, they possibly could lose their vital organs. They need the right foods with the right amount to address the root cause of Type 2D. Instead of, keep changing and increasing meds after meds, injections after injections, years after years. If this sounds good and logical, then click the link above or below, to get a copy of the guide with a complete custom meal plan, complete grocery list, templates, all the necessary tools, and much, much more for $5.60 only, with a 30-day full refund guarantee. No questions asked. And no risk to try out. If don't like it for any reason, just email us back in 30 days. We'll refund the full money. And keep the ebook as a gift from us. Won't need to send back anything. Click the button or link above or below to get the ebook and complete custom meal plan delivered to the email address instantly. Thanks a lot and have a great day. From the Wellness House of Work with Mo.com, Ellie, on behalf of the co-founder Mo Mohammed Khan.